todo Estados Unidos, la resistencia era castigada con la muerte. Los europeos construían imperios alrededor del mundo. Africanos y asiáticos eran despojados de sus tierras y sojuzgados brutalmente. En Occidente, la cultura popular reforzaba la idea de la jerarquía racial y la supremacía blanca, ridiculizando a los negros. A lo largo del siglo XX, desde los campos de algodón del Mississippi hasta las minas de diamante de Sudáfrica, se desenvuelve una trama de explotación y violencia racial. Muchos perderán la vida librando batallas que hoy continúan en muchos países. Un legado salvaje. La campaña abolicionista en Estados Unidos recibió apoyo de todo el mundo. La abolición fue aclamada como un triunfo de la humanidad. Pero los afroestadounidenses pronto se dieron cuenta de que el racismo había sobrevivido a la esclavitud. Hacia el final de la Guerra Civil, el norte prometió 40 acres y una mula a cada esclavo liberto que combatiera contra el sur. Pero un año después hubo contraorden y las tierras fueron devueltas a los dueños de las plantaciones sureñas. Muchos negros tuvieron que trabajar para sus antiguos amos. Se volvieron agricultores con el sistema de cosechas compartidas.
The way it worked is that a black family would work for a white landlord for a period of a year. And during that time, the family would receive canned goods, food, a plow, mules, animals, seeds, other implements that were necessary to produce a cash crop, let's say cotton. And the split was half, 50-50, minus the costs that had been incurred during the previous growing season by the black family. And what usually occurred, since the black household did not keep the books, blacks owed more money at the end of the year to white families, and so the debt was rolled over. Blacks essentially never got out of debt.
Al término de la Guerra Civil, las enmiendas 13 y 15 a la Constitución estadounidense prohibieron la esclavitud y extendieron el voto a los adultos negros varones. Pero en el sur, estos derechos arduamente conquistados eran burlados.
What they did was to find ways to stop black people from voting. They created literacy tests, basically. They said, or other exams that you had to pass in order to be allowed to vote. And a white person would show up and they would be asked, what country is this? And they would say, United States, go ahead, vote. And then a black person would show up and they'd first of all see if they could read. And if they could read, they would then ask them a question like, what is the third phrase in the First Amendment governing religion? Which, of course, most white people couldn't have answered either.
A finales del siglo XIX, los estados sureños legalizaron ofrecer servicios separados, pero supuestamente iguales a los ciudadanos negros. Estas leyes les negaban el acceso de igualdad en condiciones a la educación y el transporte. Por ejemplo, Estados Unidos se volvió un país segregado racialmente. Millones de habitantes de la supuesta tierra de los libres quedaron atrapados por el sistema de Jim Crow, llamado así por un número de vodevil que ridiculizaba a los negros.
The key thing to grasp about the so-called Jim Crow laws is that they were really about enforcing the idea of racial inequality in everyday life. And so black people weren't supposed to look white people in the face in the street. I mean, if there was not enough space on the pavement, the black person was supposed to get off. Or in the end, if you looked in the wrong place, if you did what was once called reckless eyeballing, if a black man looked at a white woman in the wrong way, he could end up being lynched.
Jim Crow, legal racial segregation, was a regime of white over black, and that the heart of Jim Crow was violence. And violence took several different forms, but the chief form it took was lynching. Between 1882 to about 1927, 3,500 African Americans were lynched in the United States. Jim Crow was a system of political and economic terror. Slavery was always a kind of perverse blessing for blacks in the sense that they were defined as property. In the early 1850s, a 21-year-old black man, a field hand, was worth $1,000. And so whites had a vested interest, perhaps to beat their slaves, but not to kill them.
The fear that white people had of black people was so deeply internalized and reinforced by church and government and business that black town halls were burned, black churches were burned. And if a black man defended himself against the aggressor, against a white man, not only could he be killed, but his family could be killed. He might be subjected to hours of torture. In some cases, more than one, a black man was tied on a log and burned from his feet up so that an extensive crowd of people could take pleasure out of the screams and the horror.
En su hogar, cerca de Savannah, Georgia, James Allen ha reunido un registro fotográfico de la violencia racial en el sur. Durante 20 años, ha encontrado fotos atroces en los álbumes de familias sureñas ordinarias. Muchas son postales producidas en masa como recuerdos.
Some of these images were printed in the tens of thousands and sold for a dime or $1 a piece. Some of the postcards tell you where to write and the discount you'll get if you buy 1, 10, or 100. They were sold in drugstores and pharmacies. They were sold on the street. I purchased a photograph from a woman. The photographer sold them door to door. Her mother bought the image for $2. A murder that is of particular interest to me was of a 17-year-old boy by the name of Jess Washington in Waco, Texas, in 1916. He was seriously mentally challenged. The wife of the farmer that he worked for was found dead. He was arrested. He was brought to trial. The trial took from 10 until 12. And when the jury came back at noon and found him guilty, someone in the courtroom, and it would have been anyone in the courtroom, screamed out, "Get that nigger." Then one of the worst and cruelest treatments of a human being began. Jess was kicked down out of the courthouse, down the back steps where a crowd of several hundred was waiting for him. They put a chain on his neck. There were 16,000 people crowding the street to watch this boy be tortured. Jess was tied to the chain over a branch of a tree. The fire was started. They raised Jess from the fire up into the air so that the crowd could see him. There were cheers, like at a football game, cheering the torturers on. When Jess tried to climb up the chains, hand by hand, they cut his fingers off one by one, so that all he could do was slap at the chain. They lowered him back down in the fire. A man came up and castrated him. Another man kept a pole so that he couldn't